Action.
I've got to do my bit.
Yeah.
Action.
What are we doing?
The frame thing.
Okay, you better say action again.
Action.
Hey, welcome back to my humble little speech in. I'm Drew, maker of the Spin on These Fat Boy wheels, and today I got a special guest. I got Thom Lane.
Hello.
Thom is an old customer of ours, or he's a young guy, but he's been riding our wheels for many years. He's a racing cyclist, and he's also
Product designer. And Thom has brought with him this rather radical looking. This is my concept of a new age racing frame.
What's special about it?
The whole idea behind this bike is that it's actually completely 3D
Come a bit
printed.
closer. Come a bit closer. Look at that. It's a 3D printed frame. What are the key features of this frame?
Key features.
It's got some holes in it in unusual places that you can see.
The holes in it actually help the aerodynamics. So what my main purpose around this was to, instead of making the airflow flow around the objects and around the frame, it's actually to funnel the airflow through the frame.
Right, as if the frame wasn't there, basically.
Yes, as if the frame wasn't there.
So this is aerodynamics, just using air.
Have more control about where the air goes.
Right.
So as you can see through the back part here, you can see it actually funnels the air around the back wheel.
Let's have a look at that. Can you see that, Ats?
Yes.
You can see that. If I angle it for
There, I can see.
for our viewer.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes the air flow around the rear wheel.
Yes.
What would be the best wheel to put in the rear of this bike, Thom?
I'd put a deep section wheel.
The correct answer was a Spin on These.
Spin, yeah, perfect.
Wheel.
Perfect wheel for it.
Any wheel at all from Spin would have been the perfect wheel for that. And what about the top tube? The top tube looks very
The top
interesting.
tube.
It's very almost like a beehive.
Yes, this is so I can cut as much weight out as possible.
But what is it 3D printed out of? Ink?
Do you call it ink actually? It's 3D printed out of PLA. There's a plastic that goes towards showing you why I use 3D printing. Inside each of these parts is a honeycomb structure like this that actually makes the whole structure so much stiffer we can shed material out from the main structure.
Right. So unlike a bike frame made out of metal tubes, which are hollow of course, you've actually got honeycomb tubes all through here. And look at the better hide our customer's name there and how much money he spent on his wheels. So honeycomb structure through there.
Yeah.
Oh, nice pair of wheels there. Does the frame come out of the printer exactly like that, or is it just the parts that are printed and then you have to stick them all together?
Actually, you can custom make the bike to your rider very easily without immense cost to the rider. Actually, in a big enough 3D printer, you could print that out as it.
Are there such things commercially available?
Yeah.
How much does a printer like that cost?
I actually tossed one up the other day at how much it would cost to build a printer. It was 1.5 meters by 2 meters.
Yeah.
And it'd be just under £1,000.
What, a homemade printer you mean? Yeah, so you reckon you can build your own printer, bike frame size 3D printer, for about £1,000?
About £1,000 for sort of a bog standard homemade printer.
What is the printable carbon fibre material? What is it?
Printable carbon fibre material is actually what this is made out of again.
Right.
So
Come on, have a look at this.
So what it has is it's the plastic resin that is then bound with flakes of carbon fibre.
These are the fibres. These are the carbon fibres.
They're the carbon fibres.
So what? They come on a sort of like a spool.
Yeah. Yeah.
How does
Basically,
it fuse them together?
it heats up out of a hot end
Right.
and basically just layers it up slowly over time. So as you can see, the ridges in the design is actually each layer being compacted together with a 3D print.
Right. It's very interesting, isn't it?
To make a carbon fibre custom frame, I would say no more than £200.
200 quid?
For pure material costs.
Right. So you got £1,000 to build yourself a 3D printer, 200 quid in carbon fibre ink. That's only 1,200 quid for a whole frame. Or you could go to Sato and spend 5,000. Interesting.
Yeah.
What's that? Tell us what that is.
This, I thought you'd be quite interested in this. This is actually a version of 3D printed metal.
Right, okay.
So this is brass.
Yeah.
And what this has done, it's actually bound the metal flakes in the plastic.
Right.
It's not actually very structurally
so
sound.
it's a metal plastic composite.
Yeah, it's a metal plastic composite.
Let's have a look at that
it's not quite perfected yet in the industry, but it sort of gives you a good...
It does have a metallic, metal always has that very cold feel on your skin compared to a plastic. And although it looks like plastic and it almost feels like plastic, it has got that metallic temperature difference.
It's about 85% metal in there.
Right.
I say it's not quite perfected yet, but it sort of gives you an idea of where that's going and what the.
It's quite weighty though. It is quite heavy, I must say.
Well, this is actually where my sort of designing at the moment's coming through, is trying to take that weight out of things.
Right. So but with the honeycomb structure.
With the honeycomb. So what I can do is actually reduce and make these honeycombs bigger. This wall thickness I can make thinner or thicker, and trying to get the best ratio to make the strongest part with the lightest possible.
What's that? Is that the same kind of thing? Or?
Yeah, that same kind of thing.
That's the same. So it's a metal plastic hybrid.
That's copper. That's steel.
Okay, right. Steel is a nice colour. That's one of my favourite colours. That is.
It's a very nice colour.
Blue steel. Very nice. I tell you what, Tom, you've told us how much that would cost to make, but how long does it take to make it?
It does take quite a long time to print. I mean, that's probably got 4 days of straight printing in it.
Right.
But the beauty behind it is you leave it to print. You need no human interaction at all.
What happens if there's a power cut halfway through the printing? Do you have to start all over again?
Depends what printer you have. You have some printers that will log the way you left off and carry on, and some have to start again. It all depends on what kind of printer you have.
What's your plan with this? Is your plan to sort of try and commercialise this and produce a custom printed frame that anyone can buy or download? Or
commercially viable at the moment, probably not.
Right.
But give it 10 years, if that.
Yeah.
This could be completely commercially viable.
So that turns out to be the case. Doesn't it mean that this traditional form of making bikes is
null and void?
Is over, right?
Yeah. You could quite literally buy the file, as long as you had the printer, you'd buy the file online.
And you'd make your own bike.
And you'd literally press print and you'd have your bike.
Right. Well, that's a pretty interesting and exciting opportunity. And of course, it's great for us because all those people that print their own bikes will need wheels to go with them. And what's that? Is that a piston? So the stem attaches directly to the fork with these splines. So you've taken a bottom bracket axle as inspiration.
Yeah. When I was racing, I found that the steering stem actually started to twist, especially when I was doing track racing. So what I've done is put in ridges around this. Yeah. You can see here.
Splines.
Splines that allow the steering stem to be perfectly aligned at all times and never move from true.
Oh, that's a good idea. If you look at, like, for example, this is a rotor crank, and it's the exact same concept of bits that fall out and splines that fit perfectly, and of course don't slip.
No, it's good. It's good.
Right. Listen, I just said to Tom here, because Tom is a young guy, he's a student, and he hasn't got my 1,000 years of experience. And I just said to him, it's a really cool idea. The main problem, as far as I can see, with this frame is it's a bit ugly. Just for being an old git, I like my bikes to look like bikes. I can see all the exciting stuff in this frame, especially this honeycombing. And I reckon, Tom, if you made your bike look like a bicycle made out of bees honeycomb, it would be one of the coolest things around. It would be, and this has got such structural integrity, and it's beautiful to see how it's working. So rather than hide that in these parts that you can't see, okay, get it on show. That's what I'd do.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Actually,
and I think what's really dangerous is to sacrifice function and stiffness for aerodynamics. Okay, so the idea of having no aerodynamics because the air is passing through it is a really original concept, or it's a really interesting idea, which I think you should work more on. But obviously, where you have got the structure, you need to work on some of your shaping, not just from an aerodynamic point of view, but from a ride point of view.
Yeah.
Because if you have very flat structures in this direction, laterally to the direction of motion, you're going to find it's very difficult to tune enough stiffness into the bike. So you need to just be aware of that, basically. But I think otherwise, these materials and this idea of being able to print off, download your own bike program, make it your size and print it at home is pretty cool, really. I wonder if you could do that with wheels.
You could, if you had a big enough printer, you can 3D print wheels.
Yeah. Then I wouldn't have to use Larry the Lash here. I could just print them. I just press print. In fact, I could just email the wheels to all my customers around. I'd say, yeah, you buy your wheels, and I'll just send you the email file, and you print them yourself.
I've actually done some more designing as well with the handlebars. Instead of clamping around the handlebars, it actually clamps through the handlebars.
Yes.
So you actually cut out a lot of aerodynamic features just by taking out them 4 holes and sending it through the handlebars rather than over.
Right. Have you thought about the main problem of bicycle aerodynamics, which is the person riding the bike? Have you got a way of making all holes in me so that I present much less of a sail to the wind?
The thing, I did look at that, but with anthrometrics in humans, there's really not much you can do about it. So I tried to design the bike to minimise the bike's impact. Because trying to put the airs around your legs and stuff, you end up making a bigger hole for yourself and putting more material on, where to be honest, it's not needed.
And you don't look cool either.
And you don't look cool, no.
I think what you showed us today, Tom, it's kind of eye-opening as well for old gits like me. Who's going to have the liability for someone going out and riding a bicycle that they've printed themselves? Where's the liability going to be?
That would probably be on the designer, because there's actually a podcast put out the other day about where 3D printing is going, and actually the future could be you don't buy products, you buy the file to 3D print them. And there would be centres, instead of going to a shop, you go to a 3D printing shop. You put in the file you want and it will print it off, and you pay for that file.
But how can the file creator guarantee that the product is printed perfectly? And so it's, when we're talking about a bicycle here, you could go out and ride it and fall off it, or it could break and it could cost you your life in the worst case. I mean, how's that going to be?
It's such an experimental technology. I mean, 10 years ago, these printers cost thousands for what you're buying these days for a couple of £100. And I think everything just needs to slightly catch up, and people realise it's not so much of a gimmick. It can be used for production. It can be used to really make some incredible things, completely custom, and it's kind of a new age that it's really in its infancy at the moment.
It's very interesting. So there you go. A little taste of the future. Thanks to Tom for dropping by and showing us his creations. They're really very interesting. They're much more impressive than I was expecting them to be. So thank you, Tom. Thanks for coming.
No problem.
Thanks. And thanks for riding as well.
Yeah, always.
Thanks for watching.